I'm Phyllis, and welcome to my Southern Simply Kitchen, where Southern food is simply done. Today, we're going to be making a special treat. We're going to be making 5-ingredient fudge. The first time I ever made fudge back in 1981, when I was a new bride, it was a recipe that required boiling and timing, and it was a complete disaster. So a few years later, we had some neighbors at Fort Belvoir, Virginia, and they brought us over some fudge for Christmas. I thought it was wonderful, a creamy consistency, a great texture, and delicious flavor. So I asked for the recipe, and Carl and Faye Krause gave it to me. And so I've been making their fudge ever since. And so this is our ingredients. We need 18 ounces of semi-sweet chips, and I use Ghirardelli. You want to use the best chips that you can, and I think these are the best. So I have a 12-ounce bag, and then I measured, weighed out another 6 ounces to give me 18 ounces, which happened to be 1 cup. And then we're going to need some vanilla, a can of Eagle brand milk. Now don't go buying the low-fat one. And then we're going to use some sea salt to decorate and garnish the top, which was something I had added to it. And then I've got a half cup of toasted pecans. So we will be getting ready, and I'll get everything ready and we'll get started in just a minute. Okay, we're back, and I've got my pan of water here. We're going to be using a double boiler, and if you've never used one or if you don't have one, that's okay, because you're going to take a pan, put some water in the bottom, of course get the water hot, and then I have an actual double boiler that fits in my pot, but you can put a bowl up on top of it, or one that sits down in the water, and you don't want the bottom of your pot touching the water. So how do I know my water is not touching the pot? I'll sit it up here on the top, and then I pick it back up and rub it, and yeah, it got a little steam on it, but it didn't get any water on it. So I know that that was going to work. My water's starting to boil a little bit, so I need to turn it down, because you don't want boiling water that's going to boil and get up on your pot. And then all we're going to do is just dump in these chocolate chips, and we'll let them start melting. And while I'm keeping an eye on this, I will be getting my pan ready, so I will show you how to get the pan ready in just a minute. Okay, I'm getting my chocolate chips melted. I just gave them a little stir. They're starting to melt a little bit. And you really need to watch that water in the bottom and make sure it's not boiling up and touching your dish. But we're going to get our pan ready, and so we're going to make fudge in an 8x8 pan, and it doesn't matter if you use a glass pan or a metal pan or even a piece of Tupperware. But what we're going to do is we're going to make a sling for the pan. And so I take a piece of heavy-duty aluminum foil, and then I'm going to fold it, and just going to fold it. Since this is an 8x8 pan, I want it to come and be longer on the sides. So I'm going to fold this, check the size there, make sure it fits in the middle, and we're going to put this in the pan like this. And this is a sling, so that when we get our fudge made, we can lift it out and cut it. And then I'm going to take a piece of wax paper, or you could use parchment, but I like to use wax paper, and we're going to put it inside our dish, and we're just push it down there in the corners and all. And so then when the whole thing when our fudge is ready, we can just pick up this whole thing and put it on the counter, and then we can cut it easily. So we got that ready, and our chocolate chips are melting. Just keep stirring, because you don't want them to burn. And doesn't take too awfully long, but like I said, you just need to keep stirring. I think they do better in the double boiler than they do melting them in the microwave, because melting them in the microwave, you can burn it pretty quick. And we all know how chocolate can sometimes be temperamental, but this one's not too bad. But anyway, I just think you're going to love this. And See, this is, even though this fits in here, it wiggles around a little bit. That's okay. Hold on to that handle so you're not going to spill it. And I've just about got these melted. And I took my pecans and I chopped them, and then I put them in my little skillet and stuck them in my oven until they were toasted. I like to toast the nuts in for something like this because I do not want nuts to be kind of soggy, and if your fudge lasts for a couple of days, it can sometimes get soggy. Okay, my chocolate chips are almost all melted, and so now you're going to put in this whole can of Eagle brand milk. I think I need to turn my water down a little bit there. And so nice and thick. I always think Eagle brand milk just looks like something I would love to eat, but you can't really eat it. You can taste it, but you can't eat a can of it or anything. But it does, it looks like icing, and it tastes is nice and sweet, so that's why we're not having to add any sugar, because the Eagle brand has plenty of sugar in it. And then we're just going to work this in, and just stir it in. See how everything is nice and melted, but it just takes a few minutes. Just keep stirring till you get it all worked in, and you know that all your chocolate's melted. And then we're going to I'm going to go ahead and turn my water off, and let's see, just keep working this around. And I think this is ready to add the vanilla is our next thing. And sorry about that, I had set it over there, but we need a teaspoon of vanilla. Now, you know, use the real vanilla, none of the imitation stuff, because with just a couple ingredients, you'll know the difference in it. So let's go ahead and give that a good stir, just work it in, and then the next thing we're going to put in, we're just going to dump this whole half cup of nuts. And if you don't have pecans or you think they're too expensive, you can use walnuts in this. Probably could even use almonds, but I wouldn't use the slivered almonds. I would use whole almonds and then chop them myself. But let's just stir this in. See how simple this is? And it makes a wonderful gift if you have someone special, or if you want to make a gift for a teacher or someone. You just make a batch of this, and they will be so impressed, because people think you worked a long time, because they probably know how to make that fudge like I made the first time that was such a disaster. And let's clean this off. Want to get all our goodies in the pan. And so let's give it one more stir. And I do believe that everything is melted, and it sure does look pretty. And so now we're going to just put it in our pan. Told you this was easy. And now be sure to hold the pan over here, because you don't want those water droplets to get in with your fudge. And see, it just comes right out. And then I'm just going to work it around in here. And oh my goodness, it looks good enough to eat already. But you could make it in a bigger pan, and you would just have thinner pieces. But I like nice thick chunks of fudge. So let's just work this around in here. Get it in all the corners. And it just looks pretty. And you can smooth the top if you want, but nobody will know, because it's a rich fudge and you want to just cut it in small pieces. And I think this is done. So I've got to get our garnish ready for the top, and we'll be back in just a minute to finish up. Okay, we're going to get our garnish ready for the top, which is we're going to take some red Hawaiian sea salt. And you don't have to do this if you can't find red Hawaiian sea salt. You can use a flaky white salt. And then I'm going to mix some pink sea salt with it, which I think is a sweeter flavor. And we're just going to mix the two together. And chocolate and salt go really well together. And so we're just going to take and sprinkle little bits of this over the top, and it won't melt onto it. You just want to the pretty color and the little bits. And while I was waiting, I used my little offset spatula and smoothed the top of my fudge out a little more. And anyway, just put a little dusting, a little pinch of salt, and just get it in all the little corners and everything, but you don't need very much on there. And I think that's probably good right there. And so this is ready. We're going to put it in the refrigerator just like this. It's already starting to set up, but you can see how pretty it is. If you didn't want to put salt on the top, you could put sprinkles. You could put some more nuts over the top, just whatever you like. And so anyway, this is going in the refrigerator, and then we'll take it out and slice it up and have a little treat, have a snack. Okay, I left the fudge in the refrigerator for about an hour, and so I've just taken it out and I checked, and it's firmed up, so it's ready to take out of the pan. So I'm going to show you how wonderfully this little sling works. You just lift up right here on the edges, and it just, you can take the whole thing out. And we haven't even dirtied up our dish. And then I want to move the sling out from under the waxed paper. And you can also reuse that sling. And then we're going to pull our waxed paper down. And I know it's a little bit noisy, but we'll just pull it off. And it all comes off in one piece. And then I'm going to sit it right back down on my cutting board. And I got out a pizza cutter. And so to cut the fudge, we're just going to cut little tiny pieces because it is nice and rich. And just cut it up. And so you can already see the pretty, how the nuts are in it. You've got the salt on the top. And then you can come back and you can just cut nice little pieces. And I like to cut small pieces because it's very rich tasting. And also when I think, oh, I've had 2 pieces, I don't want to go back for another one. So if they're little, I don't eat as much. But anyway, we're ready. We can, I'm going to have a little bite because I can't wait any longer. You're just going to love this because, oh my gosh, the richness of that chocolate and that little salt on the top and then the nuts inside. This is something really, really good. You're going to love it. And you can make this for gifts. You can make it for friends and family. It is just a great thing to go to. Makes a great little gift when you need something for a teacher. And remember, all you need to do, 5 ingredients, 18 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate chips, a can of Eagle brand milk, which is also known as sweetened condensed milk, but do not use the low-fat version. You need a half a cup of pecans, which I toasted, a teaspoon of vanilla, and then a sprinkle of coarse sea salt over the top. It doesn't have to be the red Hawaiian kind. You can use just the plain coarse sea salt. And you can make some fudge, 5 ingredients, and just a few minutes of your time.